Normally, so many of us would be traveling and taking part in festivities, which just really aren't happening this year, maybe next year. But there are so many other things going on across the state. Spring break is happening right now. Instead of taking off and going to Florida, stay right here in our fine state of Michigan. With us now, Dave Lorenz, our good friend. He's the Vice President for Travel Michigan and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Great to always have you with us. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Good to hear you and see you. I love your new studio.
Thank you. Yeah, they did a really good job of redeveloping the studio to make it much, much bigger to allow for us to be socially distanced. Although, Dave, I will say I kind of miss working in my pajamas and slippers.
I don't miss it at all. So I have. I've skipped up to jeans now, so I'm at that blue jeans level.
Getting there.
Anybody who knows me, that's still, quite a thing because I'm usually wearing a suit and tie when I'm not out there doing things. But I'm looking forward to being out there again today. And here's the good news. Those vaccines are getting out there. People are feeling much more comfortable about traveling. But people aren't comfortable about traveling too far away. So this spring break, it will not be unusual for you to bring your kids to a place right here in Michigan where they can enjoy one of the many things that they can do at this kind of transitional time of year.
I have seen some absolutely incredible pictures on Facebook of the blue ice up along Mackinac, but also some of the waterfalls and the ice caves. But down here in our region, of course, it's much warmer and the ice is melting. What do things look like still up in the UP?
Well, it's interesting. I'll first tell you, because down here, people always kind of forget that the lakes keep those temperatures for a while. So like I live in the Muskegon area, and I saw some shots from first some helicopter shots or whatever they were, drone shots of the Muskegon Pier and the pancake ice that's forming by the pier heads, not only Muskegon, but Grand Haven, Holland, you go all over the place, Lake Michigan, and I'm sure on the Huron end side as well, is pretty awesome. So I do recommend that people still check out our lake shores for the very unusual ice formations that are still there to see, because you see something really unusual. But in the UP, they're making that very, very kind of fast transition from winter to spring. I remember a year ago, just before COVID was officially on us, this last Friday it would have been, I was driving back from the Upper Peninsula, where it was still very much winter. And I stopped along US 2, which is on that northern side of Lake Michigan. Had to take a picture of the awesome beauty of the ice and the snow and Lake Michigan from up there. And then I made it all the way home. On the phone, I had gotten a call from my office saying next Monday we're going to shut everything down. So I was just so saddened to hear that. But I had to stop near my home in the Grand Haven, Muskegon area for a picture there. And then I posted both that very winter-like picture and that very spring-like picture as a reminder that seasons come and go, but we will be back to whatever season you really love. And I guess as a metaphor that, hey, we're going to get through this very difficult time. So I can tell you then the UP, there's still plenty of snow here and there. The far west, they're still skiing and loving it. In the Keweenaw, they are as well. Snowmobiling is starting to really slow down because the UP's hundreds of miles of connected trails, they're starting to get places where you can't really stay on that really nice that nice snow. So it's just transitioning.
So with that, Dave, what was the season like for so many of the businesses in the UP and on the western part of the state? Did they see more visitors this year?
Certainly they did in the summertime and in the fall. Winter is always about weather, and the winter weather came late to the UP this year. We all saw a big rebound of travel when we were allowed to travel in the summer and in the fall. Fall became the new summer, as we kind of expected it would in many places around Michigan. The Upper Peninsula, they still had a lot of people traveling in the fall, but there wasn't a lot of snow early on, and that really caused some real concern. So when they finally did get snow, snowmobilers went up. I mean, I drove up to, let's say, Treetops Resort at the beginning of this month. That first week, I think it was, and there were tons. No, it was last month. I'm sorry. Tons of snowmobile trailers going up. So it did eventually rebound. Too early to tell how they're doing as compared to previous years. I'm sensing it probably was a little bit slower than normal, and it was all kind of weather.
Yeah, because we had an amazing summer here in Michigan, which also, made people a little bit more comfortable to stay home and stay in our backyards because it was so nice out. But yeah, it was like February before we really started getting heavy snow, so that you could get out and enjoy those winter winter sports. But with that, Dave, I have to ask you, because we do have so many states that are neighboring us, such as Ohio and Indiana. But also right now, of course, it's spring break season, and if I see one more person post a picture from Florida, it's warm. Yeah.
Well,
we get it.
It's frustrating to me, but I will tell you, I was just in Tampa last, Wednesday and Thursday for my first business conference in a year.
Wow.
And
in
this
person.
This was the board of directors for the U.S. Travel Association. We really wanted to go ahead with a real in-person meeting, if for no other reason, just to demonstrate that it can be done safely, and it was. And I have to admit, I saw way too many people from Michigan. I wherever I go, I try to run early in the morning, and I'd never been to Tampa before. They have a very nice riverfront.
Oh, it's great riverfront,
and a nice trail. So I ran around that trail, and I just by chance talked to two Michiganders wearing Michigan shirts. So I stopped and said, are you from Michigan? Why are you here? So the fact is, Florida is open for business, and that frustrates me that we're not. So I'm pleading with people, please, keep on playing your role to wear those masks when we're inside and even outside in public places when there are a lot of people around, and all those other safety protocols, keeping your hands clean, staying home when you're sick, distancing whenever possible, because that, along with these vaccines that are getting out like quick now, that will get us through. And I believe by May, we're going to feel like things are back to normal. We're going to still need to take these safety protocols to some degree. So, really pay attention to that. But I think the pent-up demand is going to be just like last year. People will want to get out. They will be able to get out. And if I actually met with several research firms while I was at this board meeting, and I can tell you that all the travel sentiment for the American traveler has improved dramatically just within this last month. And that's all about the vaccine. Vaccines are getting out there. People are hearing it. People are knowing it. And frankly, the media has transitioned from this very negative approach, primarily about politics and about the politics of health, into a much more positive approach, and that's also really helping us with sentiment. So you're going to see life in many ways getting back to normal very soon.
Dave Lorenz with us here on the Mega Cast. He's the Vice President for Travel Michigan. And Dave, with that, while you were at that meeting, what was the discussion around vaccinations and having to show that you've had the vaccination in order to travel? Do you think that's going to be part of our life coming up?
So U.S. Travel Association has taken a position that they actually don't want to have that proof of vaccination. I'm fine with it. In fact, not being a disloyal board member here, I'd be in favor of that, because it would be just one more level of comfort for everybody out there. Like I have had both of my vaccinations. We have my mother that lives with us, so she was vaccinated, and they vaccinated all adults in the household. So I've been done with this for a couple of weeks, and I think as more and more people get the vaccinations, you get to carry around that card. It's your proof of vaccination. And I think that would be so much better to be able to say, if you're going in a plane or if you're going to a restaurant or whatever, hey, at least just so you know, here's my proof. So feel a little more comfortable. I just think communities would be more welcoming to that type of an approach. It could be a bit discriminatory, because there are still many people who just for whatever reason don't want to get the vaccination, political, health, religious, whatever it is. And so that could cause some other challenges there. So that's why U.S. travel has been pushing for no proof of.
And we
I still
should
kind of
mention,
like it.
we should mention there are people outside of the COVID vaccine, just regular vaccines, that they don't get them as well. But I see this becoming kind of a part of our lives because even once the vaccine is out there, we have the variants to worry about. I don't think COVID's leaving us anytime soon. No. But just like Dave, I'm sure you're very familiar with the CLEAR program. So when you travel, you can sign up for CLEAR. You pay a little bit extra money. You go through an additional level of security, and it basically gives you a fast pass when you're traveling through the checkpoints and this, that, and the other. And I see that because it's on your phone and you just scan it. I think that's what we're going to get to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it will be something like that. Hey, I have to put a little pitch in for Delta Airlines, by the way. It was my first time I've flown, in all this time on Delta, and I was so very impressed with everything. So if you are not being loyal to your state of Michigan and you're going to be traveling to Florida or somewhere else, just make sure that you're using protocols properly when you go to the airport too. Same thing, all these protocols we talked about, get there earlier than normal. Realize that like on Delta, they didn't serve coffee, and I had a very early flight. That was a shocker to me. But Delta, I think, is still offering, free seats. I mean, seats that aren't being occupied between people. So that's very nice. I think that goes through like mid-April right now. So I'm really glad to see that. And the HEPA filters they're using in airplanes today makes it a very safe thing. I'm no scientist, I'm no health professional, but I do know a little bit about how the airplanes are, the air carriers are prepared. So I am very comfortable to say, you're gonna enjoy that experience. Just do your part as well.
Because before this, so many of us looked at airplanes as cootie cubes,
Yeah.
because
True.
you get in there, you're packed in there, you're so close together. So some of these precautions that they're taking now could actually benefit us long term as well.
I think it'll give us permission to do things that we used to think it was kind of weird, like wearing face masks, even beyond this. So when you go on a plane, I think we'll be more likely to see people wearing face masks. The Chinese have been wearing face masks forever when they travel around the world because the pollution in their big cities is so incredibly bad. You can't, like with somebody like me with asthma, you can't breathe in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, whatever. So they think the whole world is like that because they haven't had experience traveling. And that's why you see Chinese people in airports, other places in America wearing masks. I think we're all going to be like that to some degree for a while. So, I'm just saying, hey, if you want to wear a mask, feel comfortable to do it. You won't look like an outsider, so to speak.
So, Dave, if I can ask, what was the conversation, or what is the conversation amongst those in your side of the world? You are the experts in the travel industry when it comes to these new CDC guidelines that recently came out about people that are vaccinated being okay to interact with other vaccinated people.
Well, about time. I think many of this, we understand the CDC's reluctance to say that if everybody in another household have been vaccinated and you get together, they're still saying only a few people and keep separation or whatever to some degree. We're frustrated by that because of the science doesn't seem to necessitate that. But the reality also is, it's the thing we talked about earlier, all those people who haven't been vaccinated. So if you say, hey, if you've been vaccinated, don't wear a mask, that's going to then lead to other people, feeling that they have been invited not to wear a mask. So that's one of the reasons why you're going to still hear the CDC saying for a long time, wear a mask, take all these precautions. And the thing we have to realize is we're concerned about keeping other people safe. And I wish people would stop looking at this as a restriction to their freedoms. We do everything else to try to keep people safe, right? Wearing a safe belt is for us, but having stoplights is for them. So I try to look at it that way.
That's a good analogy. I like that one. David, with that, we still have such a large portion of our economy that is struggling. Restaurants, yes, we're allowed to be reopened at 50%, but we have so many concert venues that are still closed down. We have a new relief package that was just passed. Does that give hope to the travel industry? What is the outlook for 2021?
Yeah, it does in so many ways. We've been pushing for relief packages at the federal and state level since this all began. And hey, don't get me wrong. I'm just as concerned about the budget and about spending money we don't have as anybody else. But this is one of those very rare occurrences. It is as though we're dealing with a world war. This is different. And because we have this need to keep everybody safe, government has required restaurants to shut down and such, for that long period of time. And then in a business that only has penny profit, I mean, like restaurants, they average about 4 or 5% margin. So when you're at 25%, you're really losing money. You're at 50%, you're losing more money. But they're willing to do that. They want to do that so that people won't forget about them, and so they can employ people, so they can provide that service. They are hospitality people after all. So I'm just crossing my fingers we get to that 100% opening capacity level sooner than later. I will continue to do my part to advocate for the industry with our administration and the federal administration, and take that role seriously. And I think it's going to be important for us to try to get to the point where we too can host meetings, because in my opinion, we can do that safely using the right protocols, because a professionally run business meeting is not a mass gathering. So I'm hoping we can get to that soon and then open up the entire state. But in reality, the administration's not going to do that until they're confident that we're ready to be responsible.
Yeah,
so we get back to that self-responsibility.
But it can be hard when you're next door to Ohio, and they are pretty much open.
Indiana.
And the downside to that, my nephew goes to Xavier. Well, guess what? They're back in class. My niece goes to U of M. They're remote. So she was able to go to Florida this past week because she could take her classes online. Well,
it's more than frustrating to me to see a state like Indiana getting all these sporting events that would normally be in a city like Grand Rapids. I see you've got the mayor of Grand Rapids coming up next. And, you look at that tremendous city like the Detroit area or Lansing area or Ann Arbor area or so many other communities in Michigan where we are prepared to host those types of events as safely as they are in Indiana, but we're not there yet. So I really hope we can just get there as soon as possible. I'm praying for that. And before people think I'm being critical against the governor or anybody else, I am not. I'm literally saying when it comes to this, we are all in this together. It is about responsibility. And it's as simple as this. If we just do our part, we'll get back there sooner than people think.
Well, and we have found, Dave, that hopefully people have explored Michigan so much more throughout this pandemic, which means they are going to stay exploring and keep their dollars here within the state and support these entities. Dave, it's always great having you with us. We so appreciate your time.
Great to see you and talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, take care and have a happy week to you.
Hey, remember, your trip begins at michigan.org.
Exactly. And one day I'm going to get up north, and I want to see a bear and a moose for myself.
Easy.
The Northern Lights. The Northern Lights are on my bucket list.
Just Friday night, it was pretty spectacular.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Dave Lorenz with us here on the MegaCast.